Ripple effects on, amongst others, householders, care facilities and businesses in the country. Customers are being turned away and many workers are being adversely affected. It's a bleak outlook just ahead of Christmas. The mining industry is also affected by the power cuts. Eskom has reportedly asked Petra Diamond to reduce power usage. Operations at Petra's Cullinan, Kimberley, and after huge power cuts might not really be able to be fully operational. We'll now talk to NUMSA spokesperson Phakamile Majola for the union's reaction to the situation. She joins us via Skype. A very good morning to you, Phakamile. What's the union's response to this request to use less electricity at the mines? How's it affecting the workers?
Good morning and good morning to your viewers. For us, it is extremely alarming that we find ourselves in this situation once again under the leadership of this board and this executive management at Eskom. It's truly a shocking state of affairs. For us, what we know is that whenever this level of load shedding takes place, it has an extremely adverse impact. You will know, for example, that ArcelorMittal recently announced retrenchment of over 1,000 workers. This was because of the cost of electricity. But our experience also is that whenever there is rolling blackouts like what we're experiencing now, it has a direct impact on production, and this has a direct impact on profit margins, and therefore many workers are at risk of losing jobs as a result of this disastrous state of affairs.
What are your thoughts about conversation on social media at the moment, lobbying for Brian Molefe to come back?
Well, I think on that issue, we would still have to apply our minds as a union in relation to specifically Brian Molefe. But what we want to point out is that the situation we have at Eskom is there is a dearth of leadership at the institution at the moment. It is very clear that the people who are running Eskom don't have a clue of what they're doing, and this is why we find ourselves in this situation. As NUMSA, we've said this many times, that the executive management of Eskom, many of the people who are there lack generation experience. They don't have the necessary qualification to run the entity. But even worse, you've got board members who really don't have any understanding of how to run an SOE of this kind. We've said repeatedly that the board of Eskom must be removed. What you're seeing at Eskom and also at SAA, I think it's very important that your viewers must link the two. This is exactly what NUMSA has been saying time and time again. A crisis of leadership at the highest level, no consequence management for the fact that the people at the highest level don't know what they're doing and have brought both these institutions to the brink of collapse, and absolutely no change in what's been taking place. So for us, it's very worrying. SAA right now is under business rescue. Is this the fate of Eskom, we wonder?
Phakamile, at SAA, NUMSA has given suggestions as to how to turn around the organization. Do you have a similar situation for Eskom?
Well, with Eskom, we've been on record to say many times what the issues are. We've identified various cost holes at Eskom, and a lot of those problems actually stem from the procurement side. For example, Eskom's biggest cost driver is the cost of coal. There are reports which allude to problems in relation to that, where questions have been raised about the procurement policy around coal. There was a period, for example, between 2008 and 2015 where the cost of coal increased by exponentially year on year, and there was no justification for that. So those are one of the areas. The very, very high Eskom built costs, the cost on the power plants, those cost overruns that we saw. So there was no intervention on that front. We've not seen enough work to take place. And I think, all of these issues are tied. Precisely also the issue of the renewable energy IPPs and how those costs are having an impact. So, I mean, as NUMSA, we've been on record for a long time now, highlighting these issues. There's been no direct intervention on these things. Eskom is now collapsing, and again, it's workers whose jobs are at stake because of the rampant mismanagement and looting of our state-owned entities.
As a trade union organization, on how many fronts are you fighting in terms of the Eskom story? Because at one point, you were fighting the breaking apart of Eskom into 3 entities. And now there's this issue of the possibility of non-profitability, which might mean workers will not be paid sufficient salaries. How many fires are you putting out at Eskom?
It really is a battle on all fronts, as you put it. I mean, it's Eskom, it's SAA, it's Denel. There's a real crisis with our state-owned entities. And at the heart of this crisis is rampant mismanagement at the top. We're talking about government, the shareholder here. I think we need being honest with each other about who is or what is responsible for this crisis. We've said that at the heart of this crisis is the Minister of Public Enterprises, Mr. Pravin Gordhan. It's very clear to us that he is mismanaging these SOEs. When he was Minister of Finance, he would have been the one to approve the cost overruns at Eskom. And even at that time, SAA was at that time placed under the management of Treasury, and he was the minister. So as far as we're concerned, he is at the center of this crisis. You have a board that is completely failing, and yet they continue to do their work. This is the same problem that we saw at SAA, and there's absolutely no consequences, there's no intervention. So really it does mean that members of the working class are going to be the ones that are going to have to find a solution to this crisis, just like that was the case at SAA. And we've made it very clear that as NUMSA, we're going to mobilize the working class to defend these SOEs, because we believe it is wrong that in our current socioeconomic circumstances, workers should be the ones to pay with their job because of the rampant looting and corruption of the ANC government.
So the current outages, how is Eskom collaborating with the trade unions to bring about solutions?
Well, I think for us, we have real concerns about how this has been managed. The fact that we find ourselves at load shedding stage 6 is completely unacceptable. We have said, for example, that the plans that have been put in place, the restructuring and the fact that there's been not enough focus since 2015 on maintenance are some of the reasons that we find ourselves in this crisis. Unfortunately, when it comes to certainly those issues, there's not been enough collaboration between executive management and unions. As we speak, as unions, we are in the dark about government's plans to restructure the entity. And I think you'll also that restructuring is one of the solutions, in their view, to this crisis. And yet workers know nothing or have not been properly consulted on this restructuring. So we would have to say that on that front, certainly there's not enough collaboration between unions in trying to find the solutions to this crisis.
Well, we don't seem to have a good line there. But thank you so much for your time this morning, Paramile Majola Hlubi from NUMSA. Thanks for talking to us.
I lose profit because of load shedding.
This load shedding, two problems.
And we know that there's a lot of confusion with regards to the various stages and what it means. So basically, a rule of thumb is that stage 1 is 1,000 megawatts to be shed all the way to stage 8. So if you hit stage 8, it basically means customers can expect no electricity for 50% of the day, half the day.
Yeah.
All right, so that's basically the explanation now. Yeah, let's go back to Ken.
President David Mabuza.